Hello and welcome to the Pride Pod here on Loud and Proud Orlando, live every Monday at 8 o'clock, except from this week we're running a little bit late, so apologies to anybody who was waiting for us to start, but we are here now to talk everything Orlando Pride.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being live with us. Sorry for that we took a little longer, but today we're going to be discussing a couple of topics here. We're going to be talking about the defeat, the L that we took against Racing Louisville, against Taylor Flint. We're going to do the game review. Also, we're going to be talking about the mid-season review for the Orlando Pride today. So stay tuned. John?
Yes, indeed. Can you hear me okay, Luis?
Yeah, and then now you sound perfect.
Apologies if you could not before. We are all here. Alrighty. It was a disappointing weekend for Orlando Pride, Luis. Let's open up with that. A 2-0 loss away at Racing Louisville, not the result that we wanted. Your opening thoughts on this game?
Well, the Orlando Pride lost 2-0 against Racing Louisville. You know, there's a lot of reasons why, this was not probably the best game they've had when it comes to the ineffectiveness in attack. I think Orlando struggled to create and convert a lot of scoring opportunities. They hold the possession about over 70%, I believe, throughout 90 minutes. But the Pride just lacked the quality in the final third. I felt also a little bit of a more of a bite and an edge on this Racing Louisville team, that they truly felt that they really wanted to win in front of their fans. Um, Barbara Banda, unfortunately, they were able to come up with ways neutralizing her. Also, Banda had chances that she missed, but also some of the substitutions did not really have that punch. Simone Jackson came in, did her debut. Morgan Gautrat as well. She really didn't offer what usually Morgan would offer. Ali Limos also. They did not provide the spark I feel that that the team needed. And so another thing I do want to ask, people, when there's losses, they want to hear from the protagonist of the losses. I understand it was Simone's debut, but there really wasn't a need of having her do the press conference. It's what can you ask? What can you ask?
It's pretty rough for your
You know what I
first
mean?
press
Like,
conference. Yeah.
And I feel like it's a little bit of a disservice to her. And I say with all due respect, I mean, we want to hear from McCutcheon. We want to hear from Ali Watt.
I think they should have had her and a captain, and then they could ask the captain, or they
Right.
could ask, the Danner the tough questions, and then ask her just about her debut.
Exactly. So, Racing Louisville capitalized on the chances that they got. Aaron Wright, and I hate to say it, but a great game by Taylor Flint. I think she played with saying, "Hey, this B word are not going to beat me up," and that was the motto of Racing Louisville. Also, Courtney Peterson had a great game, and both former Orlando Pride players, and they were able to exploit Orlando's mistakes, and they capitalized. So Now Louisville gets closer in the table now for Orlando as well, John. So
Yeah, I mean, I think all of what you said is true. I think we've been having these attacking issues all year. Like it's been getting worse since the beginning of the season. The beginning of the season, we were way more free flowing in the attack, and it's been getting harder and harder for anybody else to really contribute on the field outside of Barbara. Um, and Barbara was just shut down in this game very well, I thought. And then the times when she was up the field, she didn't always make the right decisions, wasn't getting her head up, wasn't then hitting the target often when she was taking chances. Also, Bloomer on the opposing side for Racing Louisville was having a very good game in stopping a lot of her shots. But it's not all about Barbara, right? We need other players. I totally agree. I think Taylor Flint had a great game in the midfield and shut down Marta all game. I think as much as I respect Marta and I think she's an incredible player and she is the GOAT and she has amazing moments and she can do things that other players just can't even imagine. I feel like this season she has really struggled. And I think this game for me was just a lot of Marta getting dispossessed by Taylor Flint in the midfield constantly or getting overrun by other Louisville players and being forced to make a back pass. Like other years, she would be able to get out of those tight spaces, make a turn, move away, like, get that ball off to the wing or, make a quick 1-2. This year, I just think she's getting crowded and she's getting dispossessed. And she lost the ball 4 times in this game. She made one very bad pass that led to a good chance for Racing Louisville. I love her and she's an incredible player, but she's not performing well at the moment. And I think with her being in the attacking mid there, so much of the game revolves around her. So when she's being shut out and Banda's being shut out, I just don't think we're creating in the attack at all like we were last year, Luis.
yeah, look, it's tough for me to say, but it's both goals for Racing Louisville were conceded goals and set pieces. Um, the first one was well, I mean, I believe that Courtney Peterson and Taylor Flynn had a lot to do on both goals, both former Orlando Pride players. So for the Orlando
Yeah.
Pride purists, that's a big deal. Now Orlando also has not only today was that game was the ineffectiveness in attack, but also a historical difficulty in Lynn Family Stadium. They have a
Yeah.
0-3-1 record in league play against Racing Louisville. Now, I do want to say something that it's probably going to be a little bit unpopular, but again, I'm here to say like it is. When it comes to this particular, I understand the fact that today I feel like Ohaine in the back line, if is she's really not at the same pace as Corey Dyke. And so it just forces for Emily to do double duties, especially when Ohaine is losing the ball. And then, what was the point of having Carrie come in the second half? Somebody had to go down for her to come in. And I feel like, the back line, it was perfect the way it was before. I understand that Abello was with the national team and all of that, but I mean, you don't bench one of your best players. That's just my opinion. I understand the accolades that Ohaine has, but right now this is a matter of winning games, and they already have a system. They already know each other. I feel Ohaine was the whole side of Marta and Ohaine. It wasn't really. It was zero production right there on the right, and then you saw Ali will take the ball and play with a lot of courage and edge and velocity, but erratically, and it's just that right side wasn't really effective at all. Now on the left side, Banda carried the whole entire weight offensively of that entire team throughout 90
Yeah.
minutes. So again, I go out with a question for John. If somebody really, really hurts Band at some point,
Mm.
who's going to step up to take over that role? Because I know last year, um, you could say that Summer Yates coming off the bench was influential. You could say Ali Watt came in on the bench and delivered. Julie Doyle, a lot of players.
Yeah.
But now Banda, it's she's out, and then we have nobody steps up.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
does it feels like it feels like.
like we talked about before, last year, a lot of these players are playing at their ceiling, right? Like Ali Watt was really performing very well last year, and she's just not got the same numbers and production this year. I have hope for Summer. I think she's growing into getting more minutes and performing better each game. The fact that Angelina's back in the D mid where she belongs is better performance from her. I think like doing her and Haley are the two D mids I do want to see. So that's right. But yeah, I agree with you. There's some other things that I think Seb's going back to what we were doing last year, but the pieces aren't all there. And that, like you said, there's if Barbara gets injured, where else are the goals coming from? Who else is playing the attacking, wing roles and the striker roles and able to get up the field and put the ball in the back of the net? Uh, this year, it's just not been the same as last year. We have 6 weeks now, Luis, roughly until our next game, which is not until August, or is it the end of? I have to check exactly the date, but I know it's about 6 weeks. As far as we know, there are no games being played. I would be shocked if that's the case. I'm sure at some point they're going to announce that they're going to be playing some games behind closed doors or something because they need to have some practice games to figure out a new attack. Like what we need to figure out a whole new not necessarily formation, but what is our game plan getting up the field? What are we trying to do with the ball? Are we trying to go wide and cross it in? Are we trying to, bring in the wide players into the pocket and play 1-2s? Are we trying to play through the middle? Are we playing over the top to Barbara? If that's the case, who's going with her to support her? Like, I just don't see the game plan in attack at the moment. And I think even in this game, we started to get a little bit to the point where we were pointing fingers and saying like you should have been here and you should have been there, and Barbara's kind of just doing a solo act where she's up there not looking for passes and just shooting every time, and it started to me to look a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot disjointed in the attack in the midfield. Like the midfield, especially this year, has been a shadow of last year. The attack with Barbara is pretty much performing on the same pace as she was last year. The defense pretty much performing on the same pace as it was last year. Yes, we've conceded a few more goals, but we're still second and we still have one of the best defenses in the league. It's not shutout city like it was last year, but it's still performing very well. The midfield for me is a massive drop off from last year. Like the players are all there. They can all perform at the level that we know they can. It's just not happening at the moment. And I think a lot of that is to do with some of the changes that were made and just the inability to repeat performances, but I think also because of flow. And I think we're not really sure what we're trying to do. I don't see the game plan as obviously as I did last year.
Look, I agree with you. Again, Orlando and opponents have adapted to literally, at least the opponents, just we neutralize Barbara Banda and then that's it. And that's pretty much what's been happening in recent games. Teams have employed that tight marking on Barbara Banda, that 1v1 defending to limit her impact, and they have reduced her goal scoring opportunities compared to last year. So also the I think Marta and the uncertainty of Marta, of a couple games she'll have moments of brilliance, and a couple games that she'll not be as influential. I mean, you have to understand she's a goat, and I love Marta. she's 39 years old as well. Orlando needs to have. To me, I think this 4-4-2, it doesn't make any sense. I think it should be a 4-2-3-1. Just keep it simple and just kind of stick with it. A double pivot, Haley, Morgan, Angelina 10,
Well, I think
and
that's what
then
it is most of the time. I think they just put it up as a 4-4-2, but I think
yeah,
really it's Marta in the 10 and Ali in the
yeah,
right wing, and I think the wingers are the key for me.
yeah.
But also maybe it's time to put someone else in that 10 position. Like what
I
happens if
agree.
you
I
like
agree
I
there.
love Marta, but like it shouldn't all be on her still. And we talked about this before. Like let's enable someone else to be that key person, the playmaker in the center of the park, and then bring Marta on as a super sub. Like there's nothing wrong with that at the age of 39 or whatever she is. So I would like to see Summer in the 10 or Angelina in the 10. Give one of those other players, and then someone that you mentioned, Luis, is I think actually had a really good debut. Uh, was Simone Jackson.
Exactly.
I'm ashamed to say that I forgot to put Simone Jackson on the agenda when she was signed. So that is my bad because it was almost one of those kind of like if you didn't if you could have missed it, you know what I mean? Pieces of news. They came out from the Orlando Pride a few weeks ago that we'd signed Simone Jackson, a player that we know had been in camp with the club beforehand, um, a player that had just basically come straight out of college, and Haley has obviously been talking to for a while, and we've had our eye on. And then in this game, really surprisingly to me, she got to come onto the field. I didn't expect to see her this early. What were your initial thoughts of Simone Jackson in this game, Luis?
Definitely a breath of fresh air. I think they should give her the chance to have a lot of minutes. We just need. I feel like she could be that player that can step up and take over the attacking third and be influential on the wing. Hopefully we see that more, and hopefully we see her evolve into the great player that everybody believes she's going to be. And I do agree with that as well. But again, I expected more of the signings that the Pride made this year. I expected more of like
Yeah.
some of the players that are currently in the roster that played last year
And I
uh,
think
to step up a little bit more.
for me, that's kind of why Simone stood out so much, is because she came on the field and instantly created stuff and got up the field with good driving runs. It wasn't afraid to take on her player in front of her, and was making good passes. I just thought it was very refreshing to see just sort of that uninhibited, like, so that I'm going to come
So
on and impress no matter how much experience you have. And I think it also highlighted, like you said, Louise, the other players in our field like are just not being impactful like that when they are coming, especially the wingers, either off the bench or starting. We're just not seeing that kind of creativity on the wing or 1v1s this year.
I mean, if you mention that, which I totally agree with you, I feel like, I would like to have Marta come on fresh in the second half, and I will say, start with Angelina 10 with Haley and Morgan, and then why not give. I remember with Ali Wa will come on the second half, or maybe even Yates could take a rest. And why not? I mean, if they really truly want to play Ohaine there, I'll put Carrie there, and then or Simone Charlie. Why not? At that point. But I think Banda needs help. Banda needs
Yeah.
that second player that's going to generate attacking plays for everybody else. Because right now, off the set piece, of counters, right now Orlando is becoming very ineffective, and people are watching film,
Yeah.
and the competition is going to grow.
For sure. I also want to say on Simone Jackson that she's her college career with 4 years at USC, and in that time she played 75 games and scored 22 goals and 13 assists. So a nice ratio for her there. Definitely a good attacking threat. Someone that I think is going to have a bright future. Let's see in the second half of the season how much she can, get on the field, how big an impact she can have, Louise. But right now, like there's open space for her. You know what I mean? Like other last year, if we'd have signed this player, she wouldn't have really got that many minutes. Right now, like we've been talking about, there is an opportunity for her to be able to make a claim for one of these starting spots if she performs really well. And I think that just says what we've been saying all pod about how the offense, especially from wide positions, has just not been there.
No, for sure, for sure. If you're on X, make sure that you're retweeting the video. If you are in YouTube, make sure that you're commenting. I'm going to read some comments here. Of all sad words, the game was gross. Ref was awful, but we played bad. I was shouting at Jackson to throw hands the next time somebody bodied her. LMAO, says of all sad words. Mo Football TV, thank you so much, sir. Salut. Salut, my friend. August 3rd is the next league match, says of all sad words. There you go. Yeah. So here's the first goal that we got scored on. And it was it's funny because you guys are gonna laugh at me, but when the Pride weren't doing so swell, I had two favorite players, and it happened to be that life have taken them to land in the same team that play against Orlando Pride, the new Orlando Pride, and that was Courtney Peterson and Taylor Korniak. Unfortunately, they both had very influential in this game. So let's see the first goal.
Starts it. And then Watt, recognition.
You see Watt
here.
That's the cross.
That.
And then, this right here, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. So Watt does 90% of this thing.
It's actually Abello who starts it. And then Watt, recognition here. Man. That was Summer Yates. Their hair is the exact same on that far side. It's hard to tell who it is, but it's the late.
And here we go.
Leads to a corner kick for.
Look, it was Courtney Peterson, and she was known for this back when she was in Orlando. The Schross. She has that Schross foot, like a shot / cross.
It's a late.
And that's exactly what she did here.
Leads to a
and completely wide open right there.
Corner kick for Racing Louisville. Wright heads it down. Yes, Aaron Wright, the captain for.
And I don't know, but I feel like they watch film and they watch how the Pride sets up the back four. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't know what you feel about this first goal.
Well, there's two ways to mark in defense in a set piece. You can either zonally mark or you can, player mark. And we always like the zonal marking. And like you said, Louise, they watch tape and they go, they're going to zonally mark. So if we put two players who are just hanging out at the back post, they're not being, player to player marked. And that was very evident in this this set piece. Yeah. So, that's exactly what happened. It's still a great ball by Peterson. You can't take anything away from that. I am also slightly disappointed in Anna that she doesn't read it like a little better and just step back a little bit more. And I think she probably could have caught that because it was that close to the goal. But I blame more the fact that Nadana and other defenders are just kind of standing a few yards away, staring at these open defenders the whole time, thinking, I'm doing my job zonally marking where I need to be, sure, but I think something has to go off in my head if there's just two players that are completely unmarked at the back post with nobody on them, and that seems perfectly okay. I don't know. It would be hard to say. Maybe some people will blame the goalkeeper, some people will blame the unmarked players, some people will say they're in their position where they're supposed to be based on the set piece instructions. It's hard to say, but it doesn't look good when you've got open players that can just head the ball in unchallenged.
Oh, for sure. We got to do better than that. I feel like
it was very, very disappointing goal.
Yeah, our positioning. Our positioning. We got to do a little bit better than that. And again, what I'm trying to say is like
a corner kick for Reese.
She was completely wide open right there, But then again, that's that. And then there is Orlando had a bunch of chances.
Yes, you can cut inside too and connect the heart of this Orlando back line, and that is a great layup by Weber. And I just don't think you need to go with power here. You have so much space inside.
Like that right there should have been a goal, But again, this is Racing Louisville. With all due respect, they don't have the quality also up front.
And I just don't think you need to go with power here. You have so much space inside of the foot, in and around.
Look at that. But
that's horrendous miss. I don't know how she missed that. Do you want to go to the other goal we conceded? It's also, this game was just so difficult to watch. The ref sucked. Like he just called so much stuff that wasn't a foul and just called everything, and that was terrible. But the way that we played was just really uninspiring. We were giving the ball away. There was times when Racing Louisville looked like by far the better side. Like, it just, overall, this was a really, really disappointing game to watch, I think.
Shoots, and it's just a bit wide. Bev Yanez has really liked what she's done. You just wonder if going into that Copa America, she's trying to also think about her players. Can she get Artie Borges some minutes before that tournament? Oh, a penalty. It comes from a throw-in, and it's Weber who's...
No, here it starts right here.
Posting up.
There, you just kick the ball and clear it. You just gotta clear it. I don't know how you feel about that. I feel like that's a foul.
And it's that.
And obviously the other player lets herself go.
Yeah, I think.
But
she's shielding the balls, right? And Emily is like determined to get to the ball. And she's like really like trying to get there, be like, oh, let me get the ball. So she's like, Emily's argument is like, hey, she's in the way of the ball. I'm trying to get around her. And then she's falling into me, and she's like trying to get the call, which she is doing. But also, you can't grab a player even if they are blocking the ball in the box like that. And then the other thing that frustrates me about this one is like Corey Dyke could just, like you said, Louise, she should just clear the ball away. Like why are we waiting for Emily to try and get around the player when Corey should just come in and make the tackle? Because there's 2v1 in that scenario. But I also think it's a very weak penalty. I think a lot of refs would have been like, hey, you're both tussling for it, and whatever happened. But this ref was calling everything. So I'm not surprised that he went ahead and called this, Luis. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And that was it.
Yeah, and then.
And it's that pull. That's a foul.
Penalty spot.
There's Anna Morehouse.
It goes Taylor Korniak, Taylor Flint goes up there. She's been wanting to score in Orlando since she left Orlando. She finally got her wish. Make a wish. There you go. You got your wish, Taylor. And I don't know.
Gets ready in net. Flint does have.
Do you feel she left of the Pride with some sort of animosity? I don't think she did.
No, not at all.
No,
she's a very good midfielder.
The PK made this year against Angel City. Flint, yeah.
And the way she celebrated, it was with a lot of frustration.
Yes, she tucks it in the corner. 2-0 Racing Louisville.
And then you got Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Didn't know he was a fan of Racing Louisville.
Yeah, so I think it's Luis. Whenever we're playing teams this year, they all want to beat the reigning champs, right? So you just see these celebrations whenever they beat us, and they're in the middle of a tough run. So I think this win meant a lot to Racing Louisville. But yeah, all in all, very disappointing way to kind of go into this 6-week break. Not what we wanted from the final game before we come back and then have to start up again in August.
That's right. We have no more comments.
That's okay. It's time to move on to our mid-season questions, Luis, as we are now at the point halfway through the season for Orlando Pride. 13 games played. We are in second position. We have 25 points. But in first place, Kansas City Current with 33 points. So they are 8 points ahead of us already. They've won their last 5 games. We just lost to Racing Louisville, won our last 3 before that, and also lost to Kansas City Current before that as well. So still a very good season from Orlando Pride, but maybe not as good as last year. I mean, definitely not as good as last year. Luis, how do you rate the season so far? Question 1. How do you rate our total performance on 0 to 10?
I think it's gonna be an 8.
Chat, by the way, if you want to drop in your rating as well, you're gonna go an 8. Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with 8.
An 8. I'm gonna go a 7. I think the table is flattering us a little bit. I think we got some results which are great, but I think we've been riding our defense a lot, and I think our attack is not as good. I mean, we have not got as many goals as San Diego Wave or Kansas City Current. I really feel like our attack is slowing down to a point of almost not producing. Outside of a goal a game maybe at the moment. So that's concerning for me. I'm going to go for a 7 out of 10. But I mean, we're still in second place, so that's good.
Yeah, look, when we started this season and we kept the core and the only one that left was Adriana. We said, and we saw the signings of Priska Chalufia and Shavoshi, different players. We said, okay, well, everybody's on their game, and we got a couple of key signings. These key signings looked like they're promising, and they're going to definitely bring us not only depth, but they're going to bring us intensity. We're not going to miss Adriana very much, but unfortunately, it has not been out that way. The NWSL competitive landscape has intensified tremendously with teams that are league's darlings, like Kansas City Current, Washington Spirit, Gotham. If they spent money, if they've also they've grew the rosters. Kansas specifically with their attacking depth, Washington with a defensive resilience. Also, you have teams like Gotham. They also have, they just come from a big win as well. And, losses like the one against Racing Louisville, they highlight, how some mid-table teams, the teams that are on the up and up, you can capitalize on Orlando's off days, And so, Louisville outpaced Orlando on XG, 1.99 to 98 to 0.98. So, I that's the reason why I don't, I wish I could give it a 10, and I understand Orlando right now is second, but I think looking for a shield, it's going to be a little bit more of like it's going to be hard, impossible, I will say, to be honest with you. But it's not a lack of talent by any means. I just think it's just underperforming, I feel, individually.
Yeah. Just not hitting the same levels of performance as the squad that we were last year.
Right. So also you have to understand the psychological shift, I feel, of being hunters last season. them being the hunters to now being the hunted, right? And as a defending champions, that adds a little bit of more pressure, and that has forced Orlando, to try to adapt of being a team that others aim to beat. You know what I mean? So I think this reset button, yes, we need some games. I think we need to stick to a lineup as we had last season, and not move it really much, and then just have added pieces. But those added pieces that we add of the bench, like for example, last season it was Sophia Manor. This season is Chanda.
Yeah.
Like we also, fans deserve.
We do have a lot of resources in our squad tied up on players that are not playing.
Yeah. And I think Sab with this reset needs to give those players that he needs to see within his roster and start really getting, because look, if Priska's not working out, man, or Chanda's not working out, hey, look, either find another position that might not be in the attacking third. Maybe they are really good backs, or maybe they could play the number 6 position and the number 5, and then get players that are definitely going to be more influential in the attack. Maybe get Simone Charlie in the attack. At some point, Seb was able to give Summer Yates a starting role last season. So, what I'm trying to say is we just have to find players that are going to make an impact when subbed in to give us that depth that makes us win the games again. Because if we rely just on Banda, again, it's going to put some wear and tear on Banda. It could hurt her physically, and then also it's going to be easy for teams to figure out how the Pride plays offensively and neutralize it.
Alrighty. Question 2: which defender has performed best so far this season? So it can be a goalkeeper or anybody on the back line. Who has performed best so far?
I think to me, I like Corey Dyke, what she has brought into the team. I think she's been very versatile. I think I'm between Corey Dyke and Emily Sams for sure. I think Emily Sams probably has the best numbers.
I'm going to go Emily Sams just because I think she's had some great performances, and really she is maintaining that same level as last year.
And she has a leadership presence on her that I really like.
I really think that she's such a key reason why we get these clean sheets, and such a great leader and example to everybody in the squad. All right, question 3. By the way, in the chat, we want to hear from you for any of these questions. Let us know what you think. Question 3, Luis. Which midfielder has performed best so far this season? We are going to have striker after this, so don't pick anybody you think might be in the striker category. I think there's only one answer for that one. But which midfielder is the best so far?
The catalyst of why this team performs or underperforms also is to figure out Haley McCutcheon. And I think she's the best midfielder the team has at the moment. She's like a that sounds kind of weird. It sounds like she's like a Jeep 4-wheeler, man. She's all terrain.
Yeah.
Snow, turf.
She can do it all.
Grass.
Yeah.
Like she could defend, and also we've been seeing her having some important attacking moments.
Yeah.
She
scored early in the season. She was scoring those goals.
She's been very consistent, and I think she's been one of the pillars in this team.
I agree. I think Haley stands out as the most consistent of the midfielders, because like we talked about this year, like I haven't been really happy with Angelina this year. I don't think she's performing that well. I don't think Ali Limos has been doing much when she's been coming on. I think Morgan Gautrat is maybe my second shout for most consistent. She comes on and gives what what you're going to get from her performances. The attacking mids, though, Summer and Allie and other players that have been in those positions. I just haven't really seen much from them. Like Chalufia, like you said, Luis, we haven't really seen anything at all from Priska. Very few minutes from Grace, if barely anything at all. So disappointed in the attacking mids most. Marta as well, I feel like I said, has really taken a step back from last year and just isn't able to produce the same numbers and at the same level of intensity that she was last year. So I'm with you. I think Haley is my shout. So best midfielder so far. All right, Luis, easy one. Best striker
obviously
so
Barbara
far
Banda.
this season. There's only one choice, really. Even if
Barbara Banda.
The only striker we played, and the only player in our team who's scoring all the goals and still in the Golden Boot race.
For sure, I will start giving her some vitamin C every before every game, since she doesn't get sick. Give her some magnesium after the game so she doesn't have a lot of pain in her joints. I mean, we need to take care of Banda like the Egyptians with Cleopatra, man. Just sitting down and have somebody put some air on her, make sure that she's well taken care of, because at the moment, unfortunately, it's all we got in attack. I mean, she's our most consistent player. She creates a play out of nothing. She can find half her teammates right next to her to make the pass, or she tries to take on 4 or 5 defenders, which sometimes is a little bit troublesome.
Yeah.
But she at least tries. So Barbara Banda for sure, 110%.
For sure. Best striker in the league, maybe. Definitely in our squad, for sure. Alrighty, Luis. Question 5. We could skip over this one if you want, but what player has been the biggest disappointment so far this season? I think I know your answer. It's going to be Priska, because I think you had very high hopes, and if not, she's not met them.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Angelina for me. I just think I had really high hopes for Angelina this year. I thought she was going to really kick on from how good she was last year and show even more about how good she is and what I think she can do, being a leader all around the field for us, no matter where she's playing. And I haven't seen it so far this year from her. I think her performances have been disappointing. I also feel like Ali Limos has been a little bit disappointing when she's had opportunities as well. I'm not seeing a lot from her so far this year. All right, Luis, a little bit another depressing question, but what has been the biggest disappointment in terms of results this year? Like, which game for you where you're like, oh, that loss really hurt the most? I can give you some notable losses if you wish. I think there's only really 2 teams we've lost to.
Well, I mean, obviously, the defeat against Kansas City Current.
I think the home defeat to KC Current, that's got to be up there.
I think those were tough, because if Orlando would have beaten Kansas City, it would have boosted morale tremendously, and probably players would have felt a little bit more comfortable. And I just feel like it would have taken the team into a different direction. Yeah. But I think those wins for Kansas City catapult them to move up in the standings and stay up in the first spot.
Yeah.
So it was a loss for Orlando and a win for Kansas City, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And also, disappointing this last result right here, against Racing Louisville. I mean, this is a team that we should have beaten. There's no reason.
I gotta agree. I think for me, I'm gonna go number 1 though. I think both of those are very strong candidates for most disappointing. I'm gonna go number 1 was the Washington Spirit game that we lost at home, not the Challenge Cup one, the one we lost in the league, because it's similar to the Kansas City Current loss, where it's like we were playing really well and we couldn't score, and then we gave them that one opportunity and they got a 1-0, win in our house, both of those teams, and it's games that we could have won. And I think definitely the Racing Louisville game hurts, yes, because it's fresh in the memory, but I just also feel like our performance in that last game, Luis, was just really lackluster, and I just didn't feel like we were ever going to score a goal in that one. I didn't feel like we were going to get back into it, just because the way we were performing was so disappointing. So we've talked enough about that. Let's talk about something more positive. What has been the best moment so far this season, or the best game, perhaps?
Oof. I mean, best moment.
I'm gonna go with the opening day 6-0 versus Chicago. That was like, whoa, like we're here. The season is kicking off. We just lost the Challenge Cup, but we bounced back big time with that 6-0. Chicago are trash, clearly, but it was a great opening day. I feel like also that comeback against Angel City 3-2 in that last 20
that one
minutes
was going, and also the Barbara Banda hat trick against Utah.
Yes, that is another great shout. The Barbara Banda hat trick away at Utah. Epic moment. Epic moment. All right. Volsa Edwards saying the comeback against Angel City was their favorite. So yeah, I can see that. I think that was just really exciting in the stadium. Barbara's hat trick was awesome, but we weren't there to like witness it because it was in Utah. We were all just watching from home. But still an epic moment. All right, Louise, a couple more questions for you. What moves do you think Orlando Pride should make this summer in the transfer window? This is a very interesting question.
Look, I would love I'd rather have Angelina Marta coming off the bench and being influential and getting a really top level 10. That's one. Another one would be a winger that could play both flanks, so that could play with both feet. So so somebody could, because that way it will take Summer to go to more towards being a 10, which I think it will fit for her. Even though we do have Julie Doyle, but I think right now we need help for Barbara Banda up top. I think Shavoshi did great. I think we have Corey Dyke, we have Carrie Abello, we have Ohaine. I think the back line is stacked. The midfield, I still feel like if we get back Chanda, if we have, we also have, have Ali Limo, so we have a lot of depth there. But when it comes to the attack right now, complete inefficiency in attack altogether, except Barbara Banda. So I feel like there needs to be either somebody that disrupts and brings that competition to Ali, to Summer, to Julie Doyle, and brings that fire, lits that fire up, and helps Barbara Banda kind of ease up and maybe be even a better striker, a more lethal striker. So I think an elite winger, and then then you have Priska. Priska will have to go to the bench, and it's sad to say because I expected a lot from Priska when she first, for what she's shown on in Mexico. You know, so
yeah. I agree. I think a winger or a striker, or preferably a winger and a striker, would be nice. Another option in the 10, I wouldn't hate that at all. A bright, young, up and coming player who is hungry, who has got a lot of talent. I think we're gonna see more for Simone Jackson. I think she's part of that game plan to be in the next wave of players. Like, we haven't really seen Arissa Mart at all play. I don't know why Grace doesn't see more minutes ever. Like, she's shown that she has some bright sparks in the very few minutes that she has played. She's a winger. Why don't we see more of her? I don't know what's going on there. Really, Simone Charlie is another one that we don't know what's going on with. It's been on the roster, but is she coming back from injury ever to play again? I don't know. It's we just have some resources, in my opinion, that are tied up in certain players that just are not producing, especially in the attack. And right now we kind of sit a little bit light. And like we talked about, the players that we do have are not producing. So it's a case that we either need to go out and find new players or give new players, like young players in the squad, chances, or we need to get the older players that have been here and been there and done it, like your Julies and your, your Ali Watts and your Summer Yateses. They need to start performing again. But something has to happen. So I don't know whether it's going to be a transfer dip in, whether we're going to make some moves. I don't think the club is in the business of trying to get anybody out in the summer. I don't think they're going to do that. If a player wants to leave on loan or wants to leave to another club or there's an offer, I'm sure they won't stand in their way either. But I don't think the club is actively looking to push anybody out. I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking to bring. I would love another striker, Luis. Like, everybody cross your fingers and knock on wood that Barbara doesn't ever get injured, because if she does, I don't know who else is going to do what she can do in that striking position for us.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. You have, I think a striker is definitely who we need. I mean, you have players, like if you take the USL Super League, you have Ali Thornton from Dallas Trinity, 13 goals. There's no reason why Orlando cannot poach players like that from a different league. Cecile Nielsen from Tampa Bay Sun with 12 goals. Tasha Flynn from Tampa Bay Sun with 10 goals. I mean, we need players that are going to come in and take away from, help out Barbara Banda. And right now, there's, and not to say, we have this Barbara Banda dependence that eventually in this league could really bite us if Banda's out. Because without Banda, I feel like this team suffers a lot in the attacking third. So we need to go back to basics, maintain our defensive composure, maybe have 2 pivots, 1-10. And, I mean, Seb's going to have to talk to the wingers and say, hey, we need you guys to start producing a little bit more, maybe do more finishing drills. I don't know, but it seems like they create and generate, but we can't execute.
So yeah, honestly, a lot of it is just failure to put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah, or failure to make that correct decision in the final third or the right pass. All right, Luis, based on everything we've seen so far this season, the 25 points that we have so far in the position of second, what are your expectations for the remainder of the season?
Well, I would like for the Pride to maintain that distance and just wait for KC to go down and kind of drop some points. I know it's a little bit far-fetched.
I mean, we hope they do. We hope they might not.
We
didn't last year.
Yeah, I think Orlando needs to maintain their stance in staying second and not dropping anymore. I think that's what I expect. I mean, it's a long break. I think there needs to be a change of mentality. It was a historic season last season, but now the expectations are higher. So we'll see. I think staying second to me will be very important. I don't think the fans will make them big of a fuss if we go out to another final again being second.
No, I mean, that's, for end of SL Cup, we just got to be, a strong, well-performing team at the end of the year, which we are going to be probably, most likely. Even if we drop a little bit, we're still going to be in the playoffs. I would be shocked if we're not in the playoffs. Like, I know some people are like, hey, we're at this rate, we're not going to make the playoffs, and they're very depressed about the whole situation. But I don't think that's the case. I think we have to figure some stuff out, but we will bounce back and have a strong second half of the season, in my opinion. We just got to figure that stuff out about how to really get our attack going again, and how to play a more complete game, both in attack and defense. And once we do that and start scoring goals more freely, I think we'll be able to win games comfortably again, and keep our second, if not hopefully gain on KC, like you said, Luis, if they do drop points. But yeah, I think there's some sadness over it's not what it was last year. Last year was like a 1 in a million thing, but like, we just won every game, even games we weren't playing well, we won. And that's just not happening this year. And we have more issues and we got stuff to figure out, but we're still second in the league, in a very competitive league. And
Yeah, yeah, no, I
I
agree.
still think we have a very good squad. I think the general outlook of the team and the culture is the word that's used too much, is still very good here, and lots of things that are very positive about this squad. We're just bumping the road, Luis, and now we got 6 weeks. We got till August 3rd, and I'm assuming some friendlies to figure it out. But once again, we have not heard anything, so we're going to keep our ear to the ground, and hopefully the club will be announcing at some point what their plan is to do over this next 6 weeks. And when we do know that, Luis, I'm sure I'll be putting it out on socials, hopefully trying to get some results or some information about what the players are going to be doing. I know international is going to be happening. We'll obviously be covering all of that. But what is the Pride squad going to be doing until they play again? I don't know.
Hopefully they announce a I-4 Derby.
I at this point, I will take whoever you want to announce that you're playing. Even if you announce games that we're not able to watch, but I just know that they're playing games.
I agree with you.
I feel extremely uncomfortable with this amount of time with, match fitness, match sharpness is going to fall off a cliff. So what does that look like for everybody to take breaks? And other teams I know are planning stuff and doing stuff and camps, and there's announced friendlies and all this. So where are we? That's what I worry about, Luis. We should be a pioneer in the league. We should be setting the example. And with this much time, I expected the club to announce stuff that they had a game plan of what to do with this period of time, and I just haven't heard anything. So I'm shocked.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. Let's read some comments real quick. It says here, of all said words, it is way, way, way too early in the year for anyone to be doom glooming about the playoffs. Yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't think we're going to be out of the playoffs, but I think that we have the team to maintain ourselves on the top spots. You know, and I think that's the expectation. I'm just, I know they come from a really historic season, and again, I don't want to take away from that. They're amazing players, amazing human beings, tremendous athletes. I'm talking about. I'm kind of more pressing on the newcomers. You know what I mean? We need. This is a championship team. I could maybe take some slack from Carrie, from Corey, from even Emily Sams, that they truly carry the team out in 2024 in several key games, like that game for Corey against Chewinga. You know what I mean? That's huge, but not from the newcomers. You're coming to a championship level team. You gotta deliver. It's just the way it is. I say this is a professional pessimist, as of all said words. I agree. Yeah.
Yes, indeedy. I remain hopeful, Luis. I think everybody just needs to maybe take a little bit of break from the Pride like we're going to have here. And then when we see them performing again and being as good as they were last year, I think everybody's going to start to believe again. So I have no reason to be pessimistic about this season. I'm just more of a realist, and I feel like this was probably always what was going to happen this year. We're going to take a little bit of a step back, but we're still a top team in the league, and we have every chance of lifting the cup by the end of the year. So that's what it's all about, and maybe even a chance of the Supporters' Shield. That has not been ruled out mathematically, although it is, yes, becoming harder and harder to see that as a realistic possibility, as KC seemed to tear away at the top of the league. Alrighty, well, that is everything we have to talk about on today's podcast. Luis, can you run us through the socials?
Sure. Make sure that you check us out. We're Loud and Proud Orlando. We're available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, also on X, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram as Loud and Proud Orlando or at LP_podcast. Make sure you check us out. I'm Luis Carlos Pineda, Pineda_ORL on X. And also John on X is at John Rollins OCSC. Just make sure you check us out, check our socials, and thank you guys for your support.
Yes, indeed. Internationals are coming up. Anna's going to be away with the Euros. We're going to have Marta and Angelina away with Copa America. There's going to be internationals for, like we've got Carrie and Emily Sams away with U.S. national team and some games there. The summer of soccer will be continuing, and we're going to find some things to talk about and keep the Pride Pod going and do some fun episodes, perhaps where we get a little bit of audience participation. Maybe do some quizzes. I don't know, Luis. We'll get creative.
Or maybe some interviews,
Yeah, some interviews. We definitely want to keep our promise of keeping up with a Pride Pod every week. So we're gonna get creative and find some content for you guys. So stick with us here. It's gonna be a while before we have a game to talk about, but I think there's gonna be some news, and hopefully we'll see what's happening with internationals, and we'll have stuff to talk about there as well.
Yeah, for sure. Stay tuned with LPO, and I guess we'll see you guys in the next episode next week. And Vamos Pride, John.
Vamos Pride.
Have a good one. Thank you so much.